Hey everybody, welcome to the Shrimp City Report. My name is Devin. I'm here with Madeline Dukes today. We are doing a special arts-centric podcast about Piccolo Spoleto. You want to say hello, Madeline?
Hello.
And we also have guests, Mimi Whaley here today, and Tate Nation.
Hello.
Mimi, what is your role with Piccolo Spoleto?
Well, I'm on the committee of 10 that facilitate the show for the city of Charleston. We're an advisory committee that Cultural Affairs put together years ago. And we each have our own job. I'm considered the liaison with the city.
Okay, so how long have you been doing that?
I don't know. It's been a long time.
Wow, so...
I can tell you more how long I've been in the show, but...
Okay, so you were in the show previously as well.
Since about 1987.
Okay, since...
Wow.
How long...
That's great.
How long has Piccolo Spoleto... How long has this festival been around?
45 years.
This is its
the
birthday.
45.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Okay, so 45 years. Okay, that's fantastic. So... Tate, you've been
We were just
involved.
kids when it started.
I know. I'm trying to do the math in my head because I am from Charleston. Did Piccolo Spoleto begin when Spoleto began?
No.
Okay.
It was several years after that. Not many, but several years after that.
Was that kind of just more of so we could provide the community more arts access, or did Spoleto just grow and grow and grow?
Well, I think originally it was the Festival of Two Worlds, Spoleto. And in Spoleto, Italy, they had a big festival each year. And then at the same time, they had a concurrent festival called Piccolo Spoleto, or Little Spoleto. Little Spoleto. And it was a lot of free events. It was for the international Spoleto. You know, it's lots of ballet, dance, theater, opera, and that was really out of the financial reach of just the mainstream person in Spoleto, Italy. So this was a lot of free events, and it was it catered to people like me.
Right.
Everyday people.
Everyday people.
Well, Tate, you've been with it a while as well, correct? We had Tate on a few episodes ago, going down his history of swimming all the time, swimming and doing art.
I'm on my way there when I leave here.
Yeah, and doing art. So you've been there since the 90s, or
Since 2000.
2000, okay.
Essentially 1999, but my first
Right.
festival was 2000.
what kind? I mean, if you were to describe the difference between Spoleto and Piccolo, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Well, pretty much like Mimi just said, it kind of appeals. Piccolo kind of appeals more to just everyday families and such. The tickets are not expensive. A lot of the events are free, and regular Spoleto, the tickets can be pretty pricey. But it's also kind of a different sort of entertainment. We get national acts and international acts for Spoleto, and Piccolo is more regional, not so much local, but regional, I would say, or at least within the continental United States.
Okay, Madeline, do you see the Piccolo Spoleto, the lineup, the people that are performing? I know that we're specifically talking about the arts festival, but do you see possibly more cultural representation with Piccolo, or is Spoleto overall do a really good job of bringing the international feeling? Is Spoleto doing that as well, or is it just, like Tate was saying, is it more of a regional feel?
What I feel like it is Piccolo Spoleto, as Tate said and Mimi said, it's within the United States or regional, and affordable. Whereas Spoleto has more performing arts and more international acts coming into the event.
Okay, I see the distinction now. Ergo, you have the outdoor art exhibit. Is that the precise? Is that the proper name of the outdoor arts exhibit?
Piccolo Spoleto Outdoor Art Exhibition is the official title.
Okay.
Or as we shorten it to PSOAE, but
Right.
yeah.
So how many people can you fit in there? How many, as far as artists?
How many people are showing this year?
Well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you, there are 57 this year. We want to keep it around, I think our max that we'd be comfortable with now, and for the last couple of years, is up to 65. There, many years ago, we went over 100, and it was stifling.
Uh-huh.
It was not just stifling for the artists, because it does get hot in May and June here, but I think the customers felt uncomfortable because the landscape that we have, you can only fit a certain number of tents along Calhoun and along Meeting, and it just, they were too close.
Okay. Speaking of close, where do you actually hold this?
Down in Marion Square, which is bordered by Meeting Street, Calhoun Street, and King Street.
Okay, that's the heart of Charleston.
It is.
That's amazing. Okay, so you tried to get 100 lessons learned, right?
Lessons learned.
Not going to do that again.
Right.
Was that just because the feeling for growth? We're doing great. Let's try to include more and include some more folks. When you obviously will have to make decisions. I believe you're on that group that decides how many are going to go in there. You know.
It is a juried show,
Yeah. Oh, it
show
is
as
juried.
well. Yeah. So it's not just a matter of anyone who wants to be in it can be in it. It's juried. You have to be a South Carolina artist.
Okay.
And
Well, who else juries? I mean, who would be the jury? Is it peers or is it?
It's peers now. We have done it many different ways, and this appears to be the one that has worked the best.
Okay. How many folks did y'all have on the jury this year? Is it a?
I can't even remember.
Okay.
It has to be a blind jury.
Oh, really? Okay, that's fascinating.
So, excuse me, one
That's okay.
person gets the applications, the other person in the checks to be juried in, and the other person gets the images. So they do not know what image goes with what
Right.
name. Nobody does.
Okay, that's fair enough.
in fact, when you submit examples of your work, it's forbidden to have any identifying marks on there. You cannot have a sign that's got your name, or
A painting that's signed with your name that somebody
Right.
could see it.
right,
Or a self-portrait.
I was gonna say, that's actually been done.
Oh my gosh.
Pretty
Wow, I
easy to
never
figure out
thought
who that
about
was.
That's hilarious.
That's a good looking person. We're going to have them there.
Well, Madeline's an artist. Do you like it that way? I mean, do you think that sounds like a totally fair way to do this? You know?
Oh, yeah. It is fair. And it is
Yeah.
blind. We receive the, I guess, the slides or whatever, and we vote throughout.
It honestly, it sounds exhausting to me, but that's not my gig or anything. So I just kudos to how many entries y'all have to go through and make those decisions. So bravo. So we decided. So there's a manageable amount of artists this year, right?
Right. We know who is retiring from the show, who is taking a sabbatical. You're allowed one sabbatical year
Oh, okay.
during your life as an artist in the show. And so we know that person might not be there, but they'll be back the next year. And so we know how many spaces we have to play with.
It's actually much more manageable now than it was even right before COVID, because there are areas where there used to be kind of a bunch of exhibit tents all clumped together in an area here or there, and now it's a little bit more streamlined where visitors can get on the sidewalk through Marion Square and walk through, and there's a tent on the left and a tent on the right as you proceed, but you don't have these congested areas like there once was.
Is the idea to set it up more as a midway that has straight, unobstructed going around instead of just, you know what I mean, just popping in
Zigzagging?
and out? Yeah,
It
pretty
works
much.
better that way.
Right,
Okay.
it was confusing before, and there's a nice flow, a natural flow to the show, the way it's laid out, and artists in their booths aren't right up against the next one.
Okay.
So there's breathing space.
And there are breezes that come through those corridors, and I enjoy those.
Right, and we did have
Very welcome.
there was a customer, a longtime customer of one of our artists, last year that had been coming for years, and he told the artist, he said, "It seems that there are fewer artists," he said, "but the quality of the work is outstanding."
That's
I agree.
And there are fewer
Yes.
by design. I mean, you know,
Right,
so it's
yes.
not like it's just falling off. It's fewer, as Mimi said, it's fewer by design.
so. The event is 2 weeks long, right?
A little bit
A little
more.
over.
17 days.
How do you? That's fantastic.
It's a marathon.
Yeah, it does sound like a marathon. It also sounds like you need to have inventory for this. I know it must ebb and flow, whatever day it is, or weekend or anything. But
Sure.
I'll bet, what is it? You know, we're not going to say the date right now, technically, but I'll bet there are a whole lot of artists out there painting away, getting a bunch of stuff together.
Us,
You know?
us
You're
three
right.
included.
You're right.
Well, what's that like? I mean, what does that 0 hour feel like? It's not like if I am writing an article for something or, you know, editing a podcast. I can do that in 8 hours. But y'all are producing big works that take time. It just seems like I would have an ulcer if I had to do it.
Well, you start early. Within the year too, and you kind of figure out. I had one artist say, "I've decided that this year I'm going to do my big ones first,
Smart.
and I'm going to do them early, and then I can concentrate on the smaller ones that I just have such a good time with."
Okay.
I
Madeline?
agree.
Yep. Tate, how do you try to do it? Do everything in January and then skate the rest of the year?
No, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Well, like Mimi said, it's best. I've learned over time it's best to do larger ones early on. Another thing I've learned is not to have too many going at once. Now, throughout the year, I'll often have several paintings going at once, but I have goofed a time or two, and when opening day rolled around, I might have had 4 or 5 unfinished paintings in my studio that weren't going to get completed. I would have been better off to have fewer going at once and finish those before continuing on with another.
Okay.
You
Go ahead, Mimi.
you learn as you go.
Right, and if you're working in watercolors or acrylics, that's an easy drying time, or even mixed media. And I've been working in oils for a couple of years, along with these other things. But I've not done this, but I know artists in that show that brought out big ones and had signs saying wet paint.
Oh, okay. Did anybody try to buy the wet paint sign? Is that an original?
No, but I'll tell you, one of the artists had a rather large piece that was wet paint, and it won a major award.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wow. Okay. Well, you know what? When you think about it, perhaps somebody that was enjoying the art and seeing the art is like, well, this is something that was just produced. On that line of thinking, do you is it encouraged to paint while you're there?
Oh, definitely.
Interesting that you say that. Yeah. I don't do that real often. I paint in acrylics, and with the humidity in Charleston, painting outdoors, the paints can get kind of thick and
Okay.
unmanageable at times. However, the times that I have worked on a piece out there, typically it's sold before it's finished. Someone will stop by and watch me working on it and come back later and ask about purchasing it. So that's a good thing.
And we encourage our participants to paint out there because people really enjoy coming by and looking and talking to you and that kind of thing. And they get to ask you questions. It's it really is a very nice dialogue between the artist and the public. Because this is not something they get to see a whole lot. And then you've got almost 60 people that are painting.
Right.
So Madeline, when somebody stops by when you're painting, I mean, what's going to be the first thing that you possibly talk about? I mean, because aren't there a lot of people from out of town coming here? Isn't that a natural conversation?
I looked at some statistics from 2016, and I think they said 80,000 people come through for this event, for all the events during Spoleto and Piccolo Spoleto.
Logistically, how do people get around? We talked about that's the heart of Charleston. That is quaint, charming, but also traffic, parking, just managing the flow. Does the city put out maps of parking? Is there complimentary parking? I mean, I'm trying to think of it from a
There's
spectator.
no complimentary parking that I know of, and certainly not for the artists. But there are several garages close by. One at the Francis Marion, one at the Visitor Center, one at the Gilliard.
And there's one on King Street.
Right on.
I think. No, not King Street. Never mind.
So there's plenty around though.
Well, there are plenty around, and the best thing to do is to plan on just having a day or a half day to play. Going and parking in a garage, coming through the art show, then going out for a nice lunch, because all the restaurants are on King Street.
Okay.
Especially that Upper King area, right above Calhoun. And then coming back through the art show so that you can purchase the art and take it straight to your car when you leave.
That's the important part.
Yes, that is. I want to say
idea.
something about the show.
Please.
Though. Okay. The show, in terms of growth, to me, and having different types of artists, two-dimensional artists, there are people who draw, do ink work, colored pencil. There are people who do mixed media. There are people who do abstract art, people who do traditional or modern impressionism. It has so much to offer for people looking for a certain type of work. So I think that it's grown more so towards that. Everybody kind of has their own voice. That's what when I look at, go through the tents, you can see the artist's voice.
A lot of variety.
Yes, a lot of variety.
Okay, so a lot of variety, a lot of artists. Is it Charleston specific art? I mean, you just noted
Not at
so
all.
many different types of art. So it's not all blue crabs, marshes, just not knocking that.
No, not by any means. I mean, there's a little bit of all kinds of art represented there.
Okay.
Wildlife, and there's some good photography. Yeah, we've got excellent photographers that have been juried in. I think we have 3 in the show.
Okay. So you have the photography. Is everything original there? Are there duplicate prints? How does
That's
that
a
go?
good question.
75% of your work that's hanging in your booth or your tent has to be original.
Okay.
Any type of reproduction, such as a giclée, has to be very clearly titled as such.
Educate me, giclée, what is printed and painted, or how's that?
Well, when you talk about a print, it's almost misleading because there are pulled prints, which is a very artistic way of bringing forth a limited number of prints. When you're talking about a lot of prints, you're talking about reproductions, and they can be offset lithographs, which a lot of people use because you can get a large number out of them. But with the giclées, and your giclées are normally a little bit more expensive because they can be put on paper, they can be reproduced on paper or on canvas. And sometimes I think people, if they don't know what they're looking for, can be confused whether it's a giclée or an original piece. And there's some artists that will enhance their giclées, but it's still an enhanced giclée. It's not an original piece of
art. So the
Okay.
giclée is a reproduction.
It's a high quality digital reproduction.
Okay, and it's clearly stated because for some
It's supposed to be, yes.
Some consumers are not exactly discerning,
Right.
or we don't want any funny business going on. So
It's actually
Right.
it's
Yeah.
a different
Right.
it's a different printing process than offset lithography.
okay,
So-
but you still have to have 75% original.
Originals in
Okay.
your tent. Yes, hanging. Now, if you've got bins of, and a lot of our artists have bins in there of unframed pieces, and we want to have your originals are normally a certain price point, but then you want to be able to have something for everybody
Yep.
to be able to enjoy art
Right.
at home.
There's
and-
all different price points.
Right, and so there are bins, but you'll find lots of originals in bins also that are really not framed, or and so you're getting an original artwork for less because you're not having to purchase it framed.
Right.
Okay, are there competitions within the artist, ribbons, best of show, stuff like that?
Just in the show overall.
Okay.
But not in between, not in categories of, best photography or best mixed media. No.
But I guess you decide those awards by just the jurying process, or does somebody walk around looking at the paintings?
Well, we hire a juror
Okay.
each year that that one of the artist's spouses actually takes around.
Okay.
And they'll go through several times. And they've got their little notepads and all of that, but they're not encouraged to get a watercolor, pick a watercolor, and pick an original oil or something like that. It is just up to the juror, and normally our jurors, are either art instructors. Some of them, I can't remember one that's been with the museum, but I know that we've had that in the past. We try to get someone that is not familiar with the artists in the show. And for instance, I think sometimes when we have had an artist that is familiar, a juror that's familiar with one of the artists, and the artist has helped bring that juror in, then normally the artist will step back and will not allow his work to be or her work to be juried.
Absolve themselves of it.
Yes.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Typically in the past tried to get an artist as juror who's from out of state even.
Right.
That way you pretty much have a very slim chance of being familiar with participating artists in the show.
I can't even begin to think about the economic impact of Charleston with Spoleto overall and Piccolo. Have there ever been any metrics on at least on this event as far as anything like that? I mean, but there still must be, a great impact. You talked about the restaurants on King Street. I'm sure they can't wait to see y'all come, because do you have an estimate of the kind of foot traffic that goes through there?
No, we have never been. That would be almost impossible
Yeah, I
for
guess
us
you're right,
to,
yeah.
because we're interested in painting.
Right, I know. I understand. And plus, if I recall, with that park, everything's an entry point there.
Well, there is, and we're fortunate because every Saturday we have the farmers market.
Okay.
And that takes up the King Street portion and part of the Tobacco Row portion. And it just brings more people to the park. And if there's an event or a band, anything going in there, it's just a great place to bring your family. You can even have a picnic out there.
Okay, because there is a lot of room in
Marion Square.
Marion Square. Okay.
Oh, very much.
The Arts Festival. How is that regarded with the newspapers and does Live 5 News come down there? I mean, do you get
Press?
do you get press? Do you get showcased or anything? Tell me about that.
Well, the city paper usually covers it well, and the Post and Courier also often covers it on a weekend edition. Sunday, usually there'll be articles, photos of some of the artists in the show, and so that's always helpful.
Okay,
we welcome it any time.
And they're aware of the show.
Yes.
Oh, definitely.
And there's
Okay.
there have been reports covered, newspaper. I'm sorry, the TV stations covering parts of the show in the past.
All right, so that's good. So we have the local coverage. There's no shortage of word getting around, and I assume by the brochures that I see in the library or the word of mouth or anything like that. Does the city paper or the News and Courier, is that what they still call it?
No,
No.
Post and
Post and
Courier.
Courier.
Post and
I'm
Courier.
sorry. That's
You're
how
close.
That's how old I am from Charleston. Excuse me. Do they ever feature? I mean, would they have a feature or anything like that preceding the festival?
Not preceding the festival particularly. I know that several years ago, one of the photographers from the Post and Courier was out there, and they ended up doing a great story on the show with lots of photographs and things like that. One of the best things about our show is that we're visible.
Okay.
Because we're meeting in Calhoun, where anybody coming into the city.
Okay.
We're surrounded by hotels.
We're surrounded by the Dewberry, Hotel Bennett, the Francis Marion. So we're very visible, and that doesn't help just us. That helps the city and promotes not just the Piccolo Spoleto Festival, but the wider, the more international one, the Spoleto Festival, because you just happen onto it many times if you're going to an event at the Gilliard, something like that. But in terms of city paper, I have some exciting news. That we've just been awarded. The Piccolo Spoleto Outdoor Art Exhibition has been awarded the Best Art Exhibit of 2023 and Best Piccolo or Spoleto Show of 2023. Wow. And that's a big deal.
That is a huge
Who
superlative.
does that award come from?
Huh?
Who does the award come from?
From the city paper.
Oh, okay.
The city paper. That's the readers, and city paper is a free publication that's all over the city.
That says a lot that you're regarded by people that are voting. This isn't just, critical is fine, but these are actual patrons. These are
These are people that make the effort to go vote.
Yeah, and I got to say, you can't swing a dead cat in Charleston without hitting a festival, or some kind of event or something like that. So to be, regarded as such with those honors, that's fantastic. What a way to wrap the podcast up with, such great news.
Well, can I ask Tate
please.
and Mimi their favorite things about the Piccolo Spoleto outdoor art exhibition?
Gosh, my favorite part is meeting with all the people that come through the tent. I'm a people person, and so when people come in, whether I've known them for a long time or whether I'm just meeting them for the first time, my big joy is the time spent talking with people in my tent.
Okay,
I just
cool.
totally love it. And you know what? You were asking earlier, I'm going to backtrack to something.
Sure.
You were talking about starting a conversation with folks that come in. It's pretty typical for me to, unless I know someone, to start off by just asking them, are you visiting Charleston or are you local? I also ask them, have you seen my work before? And so it's real easy to get a conversation started. It's just it's a real treat to get to talk to the folks.
Fantastic. How about you? As Madeline asked, what is your favorite?
Well, I do think that it's being around people too, and enjoying the people as they come through the park and meeting, and especially seeing repeat people, customers come back to visit you to see how you've grown, what your new work is. But I'll tell you what's really fun is seeing all the other artists. We're there together for 17 days, and my good friend who's an artist in the exhibition and is also on the committee, Elaine Berlin, calls it art camp.
I was just going to say, it reminds me of being at camp.
That's right.
It is fun.
We got 17 days out there. You get to know your neighbors really, really well.
That's such a great... it really is. I mean, y'all are out there for 17 days. How many hours? What time? Okay, so you have to get there a little bit before the show.
Right.
I'm going to circle back to this, then ask Madeline the same thing we did. But what are the hours? What should a patron expect?
9 to
5 on Saturdays.
10 to 5 the rest.
Okay, so it cuts off at 5. That is sensible.
Especially
yes, it is. with I know one of Madeline's favorite things about Spoleto is that humidity that starts kicking up about 4 and 5. So that's a good time to
yes,
get
and
out.
I would like to give anyone listening some advice, especially if you're a woman. Try to wear a sundress or a dress, because if you wear pants, you're done for there. It's not comfortable.
And hydrate a lot.
Yes, drink a lot of water.
Especially if you're in the show, you've got to keep hydrated.
Well, I guess tell us something that you like about. What's your favorite thing that you just asked everyone?
Okay, my favorite thing is something I started doing 2 years ago. The women that come through, I used to be a fashion designer, and the women that come through with the coolest outfits on, I love pulling them into my tent, posing them near one of my paintings that matched their dress and taking a picture.
Oh, that's so cool.
And they're
That's a
so
great
cool about it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I've done it with men, too. I'm like, come on over here. You match this painting. Do you mind posing?
We do get some snappy dressers.
We do. Get very snappy dressers.
That sounds like such a great Instagram thing to do. Tate, do you have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I've been very, very fortunate that this year, and this is brand new news. I've known about it for a while, but I've had to keep it secret. This year, for the third time, I have been honored as the official poster artist for the festival, for Piccolo Spoleto Festival.
Amazing. Yeah. That's great. We have to put another clapping effect in there. So all these awards and high regard for folks we have on
We're fancy, man.
on the podcast. That's great.
And we're only 45.
You're setting
We look
such a
so much
high
younger.
bar.
Oh, no.
So Tate, third time, huh?
Yeah, I had it in 2000, again in 2010.
Uh-huh.
And I was actually kind of hoping that I would have it in 2020, just
Yeah.
so I could actually kind of laughably say that I had it every decade.
That's right.
There was no
Yeah.
festival in 2020 because of COVID.
That
so
pesky.
here I am for third time, and it's a huge honor. It's really great.
It is. You're going to get so spoiled. You know.
It's too late for that.
Yeah.
That's good. That's
Okay.
Thank you.
fantastic.
Thank
Well,
you.
I appreciate you coming and sharing. We'll get this out soon enough so we can promote. Of course, everybody involved with the Shrimp City Report podcast will be there supporting, possibly even taking some tents down. So,
Putting them up.
yeah. So we hope to see y'all. Everybody, hit us on our website at shrimpcityreport.com. It has links to every other social media. We will also be posting the social media, or at least all the links to Piccolo Spoleto and some
Outdoor.
artist friends of ours.
Yeah. Everybody come to the
Yes.
show.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, y'all. Have a good week.
Thank you.
Thank you.